This is part two of my PromptCraft video series. It's part two of two, I should say. There's only two parts. This is the second part. In the first part, I did go into more of what PromptCraft is and what the principles of it are. I'll do that again here. I'll do a quick review. So PromptCraft for me is a set of principles and truths that emerged for me out of all the different AI projects I've worked on. And an AI project, in my mind, I call it a chimera because it's a fusion of AI and some kind of legacy or typical structural component, like maybe Python scripts to give it structure and organization. Or it could be a series of well-orchestrated prompts that give it organization and structure. So I call those chimeras, like I said. And there are many kinds of AI projects. I've developed a little spectrum here to show you the chimera spectrum. On the far left, you'll see the most simplistic one where it's the human crafting elegant prompts to give directly to like a chat GPT. That's still an AI component, and it's still a structural component. And then on the far right, you have systems that you might call fully agentic, where it's a series of AI agents who are working between themselves and communicating between themselves, and the orchestration is happening there via a series of well-defined prompts that make things work. These are the core principles of PromptCraft. Number one, structure is what makes AI reliable. Remember that. It could come in the form of a well-crafted prompt that you're giving directly to ChatGPT to get some output you want. It could be Python scripts or PowerShell scripts, something that provides orchestration and structure to the pipeline you're building. Or it could come in the form of a set of prompts organized in a hierarchical manner that define and control the flow of a set of AI agents. Number two, design the system before you use AI. I recommend that you first design your project in a way that does everything possible that's needed to be done without AI first. And then whatever the gaps are that are left where AI really shines and is good at that particular thing, then insert AI into that workflow or project. Number three, use AI where judgment is needed, or as I just mentioned, use AI where it's good at the thing. Don't use it for what it's not good at. Number four, try to design and build your project in a modular, reusable way. You may want to reuse parts of this again. For instance, one pipeline in part one of this series was to extract data from Jira. Now I know in the future I'm going to have other projects where I want to do that. And because I built it modular, I can simply take that portion of that project and reuse it again. So do that where you can. And number five, remember that you are the architect. So as you're designing your project, your system, your workflow, make sure you're a component of it. Keeping a human in the loop is very important when you want to have reliable output. Inject yourself throughout the process so that you can spot check outputs along the way, definitely at the very end, so you can review what the final output is and make sure that that looks correct. But just remember that you are the architect. And so what I want to do now is show you a demo of one of my larger experiments so far, multi-agents doing development of an MCP server for me. So let's walk through that. Okay, let's take a tour of this other project, which when we're looking at the Chimera spectrum, the first one we looked at, KPMG, is over here on the left, where it's structured with Python script and strategic AI injected into it. This project, our MCP server, is way over here on the other side, fully agentic, agents doing all of the work, but the structure we give it is done in the form of prompts crafted in a hierarchical manner, and you'll see how we've got that divided up. So VS Code again, let me show you what the project looks like. This project is composed of several folders, 4 of them to be specific. We have a test agent folder, the MCP server folder where the actual code for the MCP server lives, and then we have this folder here, which is where the heart and soul of the prompt crafting of this is. I'll touch on this one in a moment. So these are all prompts, organized, named accordingly. You'll notice the readmes. I have readmes at every level that give an overview of what's in that particular folder. So the agent setup, this is, I would say, most of the magic here. For each of the kinds of agents. So the first thing we did was determine what agents do we want on our team. We formed a development team. And my team I decided to compose it of one development agent, a prompt writer, a prompt reviewer, and then a test writer. So let's look at the README. There's a little diagram in here that illustrates. Oh, here it is. I'm sorry. So the prompt writer is going to write a development prompt, basically define a development task in the form of a prompt. The reviewer is going to look at that prompt and examine it for gaps. Is this a fully formed prompt? Did we leave anything ambiguous or subject to interpretation? If we find a gap here, we give it back to the writer for refinement. When the two of these agree that it's good, we hand it to the development agent, who I ask again before he executes it, do you see any gaps in this prompt? And if he does, it goes back into the process until all three of these agents agree. This development prompt is sweet and there are no gaps in it. And at that point, the development agent is told to execute this task. And he does, and he writes code which ends up in the MCP server folder up here at the top. After he's done, we inform the test writer that, hey, there's been some new work committed. Now we are using Git, and the dev agent has his own clone, which resides here, and the test agent has his own clone, which resides here. So we tell the test writer, there's new work, please do a pull on master, because it was the dev agent merged it into master and pushed it to origin. He'll pull the latest code, and based on the changes, we'll commence to writing tests, a couple different kinds of tests for each of those new tools that were just created. So while he's writing tests, I'm over here getting the prompt writer started on his next task. When he's done, I get the prompt reviewer started on reviewing this one. When they both agree, we get the development agent working on development. And so I pop back and forth between all of them to unblock them, to answer questions, to inform them that the task you're waiting on is now complete. I insert myself purposefully into the middle of all of that. They don't talk to one another at all. I didn't know how to do that, but thinking about it, if I had the option, I probably wouldn't anyway. So that's how we prompt for our agents, and that's how they work together. These prompts, let me add, were written because an agent session has a lifespan. It will die. It's born, it's young, it's thriving, it's working, it gets old, and eventually that session will die. To account for that, these prompts are written in a way to be able to seed the next incarnation of that exact type of agent. And one of the cool things that we learned to do kind of early on was whenever I would manually work through a problem with, say, my dev agent, and we would figure something out because we encountered a new thing, I would ask my dev agent before he died, one of his last duties, go and update your own prompt with this new information so that when I have to reincarnate you, that new information is part of the new agent. So self-evolving, if you will, enhancing its own prompts. We do it sparingly and not a lot because we don't want these prompts to get watered down or lose anything either. But if it's something significant, we'll go ahead and have the agent modify its own prompt. Okay, let's see. So the other folders, templates. This is for the prompt writer primarily at the moment to use as templates for writing development prompts. And it can judge the task we're asking it to encapsulate or capture in a prompt based on its complexity and use an appropriate template to model its development task after. So that's what that's for. We then have a status folder. Now these are the status prompts where dev agent incarnations will communicate with one another about what was I last working on, what did I finish last. If we click on one of these, you'll see last updated. I just did this recently. basically so the next incarnation can read this and know, oh, here's where we're at in this project. Okay, and development prompts. So after a prompt writer is finished with its prompt and we like it, this is where it resides. So the development agent looks for his work here. So under case management, these are case management tools. Our software is justice system, so we work with bookings and cases and court dates and all that kind of thing. So the work is here. You can see this one was rather large, and as I've talked about before, AI is really good at small bites, not big bites. So we try to break all these dev tasks up into small pieces and encapsulate them, or capture them rather, in these prompt files like this. So that's what this folder is all about. Now once this development's all done, I still have every one of these dev tasks in great detail that could be executed again if we ever needed to or wanted to. Basically recreate the whole app by just what we've built and captured here. So that's kind of beautiful. I don't know about the use case for that, but now this folder, let me talk about this one. This is our actual code base for our product. So the prompt writer has been instructed and given to use the JSON of the Swagger representing our API as its starting point for deciding what should this MCP tool look like, how should it work, how does it interface to this product. But additionally, we've prompted the prompt writer, in addition to using Swagger, I want you to go to the actual code base itself, look at the raw code for the endpoints that you are coding this tool against, and determine by the code what parameters are required, which ones have validation, what kind of validation is it. Sometimes parameters are conditionally required depending on application configuration. So the prompt writer looks and knows all of that while it's writing this development task. And that is, I think that's a really beautiful thing to do. It helps us get to a working tool quicker because it already took that stuff into account. So when our test writer writes the actual end-to-end testing, things sometimes just work out of the box. So that's pretty cool. The other thing I want to show you here, and let me fire up my other queue over on the right. So this is my little assistant. I'm the team lead. I'm the go-between of all my agents. And this guy over here helps me when I need a consult for something. But my actual agents themselves, I've added WSL Ubuntu to the terminal types I have in VS Code. So I spawn a terminal, an Ubuntu terminal, for each of my agents. Okay? And in each of those agent prompts, I fire up Amazon Q. Okay, so I have a different instance of Amazon Q in every one of them. What I do is I tell that particular agent, the first thing I do, and the only thing I really have to do, because our prompts are so well written, is to tell it consume the prompt file at Windows path, and let me get the prompt file for the test writer, copy path, and he is going to read that whole thing in, figure out who he is, what his purpose in life is, and all of that. Now when he's finished here, now he's ready to write tests. He's got everything he needs in his prompt file. So I haven't done this one yet. Let me start this one up for you and show you how we do it from scratch. Queue chat. We'll get that going. We have a few MCP servers we leverage right now. Okay. Let me get his. I won't do too much of this. I'm not going to actually do any development for you. But I wanted to see how we do it. So when these guys are all fired up, what I'll do is I'll start with the prompt writer. I will choose which of my endpoints I want him to write development tasks for, and I'll tell him that. He'll go to the Swagger, he'll go to the source code, he'll use his example templates, he'll create a prompt. When he's finished, I will then jump over to the prompt reviewer and say, hey, there's a prompt file ready for you, and I will go here and I will find it and I will copy path and say, your prompt is at this path. Go review it for any gaps. You know what to do. While he's doing that, I'll go to the test writer, or rather to the dev agent, once I have a complete development task prompt. Say, here's your prompt, give him the path. He'll get to work on that. When he's done, I'll hop over to the test writer and say, hey, you got changes to pull and tests to write. Go for it, buddy. and he'll get to work. So I'm hopping between them, keeping them all busy. And in between, if I need a consult, like say there's an error somewhere, I'll come over to my consultant and say, hey, I got this error. Which agent should I give this to? And he'll say, oh, give it to the dev agent, because I've informed him too of what we're doing. He's aware. He's got the README over here. That's how I seed him. He knows what's going on. He knows what we're doing, and he'll advise me on who to do this to or give it to. So this is how it works. And when it's running, it's so beautiful. It feels beautiful. The output is good. Like I say, these guys are doing their own Git commits, their own merges, their own pulls, and all I have to do is oversee it. Now, there are times when issues happen, like my test writer, when he first started, was doing great. His tests were awesome. I verified them myself. At a certain point, he took a left turn, started writing incomplete tests and telling me they were good and they were working. And when I began to question him on it, he said, wait a second, you're right, I did something wrong. So somewhere he deviated from the standard approach we were taking. So needed to backtrack him, delete a few, and kind of start at a certain known good point. So things happen, and the human in the middle is very important to continue. And yeah, that's that.